Welcome to Divine Decode. I'm your host, Pragya Malviya, and today's episode is about something so many of us wrestle with: money debt and the search for freedom. We are not just talking about financial struggle, we are talking about liberation, freedom, and whatever comes with it. My guest, Tommy, once faced the crushing reality of $85,000 in credit card debt. He stood in courtrooms, answered endless phone calls from collectors, and lived through nights of fear that many listening may know too well. But today, Tommy's story didn't end there. It transformed into a testimony of faith, resilience, and a radical new way of seeing debt, banks, and freedom itself. This is going to challenge what we think we know about money and remind us that freedom is possible even when it feels far away. So let's dive in. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. I'm living here in the Philippines.
That's great. That's great. It's such a beautiful place to live in.
Yes, I came here looking for a sawa, which means a wife. And so I do have a fiance. So I have come to paradise and found my future wife here.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful. Congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you.
So, Tommy, okay, let's start with your story. It began with risks, right? Using credit cards to fund a dream. Looking back, what did that season, what did it teach you about trust, faith, and survival? And how do you look at your life now?
Oh, yes, it's life completely different. I'm a retired teacher now, but I was an author and I wrote a book on health and healing. And I was given a infomercial contract back in 2004, and I needed to be test marketed on the radio to find out what's the best strategy and how's the best way to sell my book. And it was going on for about 6 months and it was going great, but I had to live on my three credit cards in the meantime. I was promised to make about $100,000 a month. So when I racked up 85,000, that's not a big deal because I'd have $15,000 left over. But one of the other talents, he got in trouble with the government making false claims, and they came down hard on the company, and my contract was canceled. So I was left with $85,000 of credit card debt. That took me into a bit of depression, of course. And then about a month later, I woke up one morning thinking about my dad. He's a certified public accountant, and I was in school to be a CPA. I never got the credential, but I can do the work. And I realized the bank does not have an invoice. I have no debt. The bank did not produce any, uh, give me goods or services, and I never had any kind of a debt with the bank. And then on the other side, you would think that the bank loaned me the money. And I remember from my accounting class that there's in the book Modern Money Mechanics explains how the banks accept your promissory note and they write numbers into your checking account. And I remember I never signed a promissory note, so there was no loan. And then my father at the time was a judge and an attorney, and we had long conversations about fraud undoes all contracts. So when they say if you use the card, you have to agree to their terms and conditions, but fraud undoes all that. So I do not have a contractual agreement with the bank. So I end up suing the three banks in federal court. And you could ask, did I win? Well, the judge dismissed my cases, but I looked at my credit report 30 days later, and all three of the credit cards were removed off my credit report. So I was never sued. I never heard from the banks ever again. And then you think that you'll never get a credit card again. Well, I recently have applied for a card, even though I had no score, had no credit report. And Capital One gave me, that's the important word, they gave me a $500 credit card. And so I was able to book an airline and rent a car, because that's what you have to have as a credit card. So I have discovered a worldwide bank fraud of the by the banks against the people who have a bank issued alleged credit card. So that's about my background.
Mm, that is, first of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. It was a big, big thing that happened, and I'm so glad that you've been over it and you've overcome your things. And I really, really believe the listeners, they also they get to, learn from your experiences. And that's, again, thank you for sharing that with us. Also, was there ever a moment where you thought that this is it, I've lost everything, maybe starting at the bills piling up, or, staring at them, and or getting those constant collection calls that made it feel impossible to breathe? So, how did you cope with that? And yeah, what was that feeling like? And what is that one thing that you would love to share?
Oh yes, it's overcoming adversity, and so I had figured out that uh, there is true credit cards, and that's when a store gives you a true credit card, and you have to pay that. But if that store card on the back says issued by a bank, then it's a phony one. So I learned that law is language and language is law. So if you use the language of the criminal, you're never going to be able to win the argument. So you have to start with the truth. And what is the truth is you have to kind of ask yourself, is it possible that I have been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed? And I don't mean to insult your audience or anybody listening to me, but a lie is a lie, and we know what that is. But when it's told generational, then we accept the lie as truth. So your parents tell you, here's a credit card, and here you have to pay, and there's all this, and it's not true. And if you don't question it, then you're actually brainwashed. So all I want you and your audience to do is add the one word, alleged. We watch television, we see the bank robbery, and they always say that's an alleged bank robber. So all I want you to say is alleged credit card debt, and that makes the burden on the bank to produce the evidence that there's a debt, and there is no evidence. So I'm not trying to argue to get out of debt. It's not that at all. So when you go for a loan, you actually have to fill out loan documents. You have to prove your income. You have collateral. So if you don't pay, they take the car or the house away from you. And you also have to have a credit report. A credit score determines your interest rate. But the last thing you do is you have to sign a promise to pay it back. And so what the banks are doing essentially is trying to get clients. And years ago, they would give you a toaster or a wall clock. So they would purchase these items and have them in the bank. One time, the local newspaper had an ad by a bank that said, come into our bank and deposit $25, and in 90 days, we'll match it. Well, what did I do? I took my $25, put it into a savings account, waited 91 days, and I withdrew $50, my 25 and the bank's 25, and I closed the account. So that's what banks do. They try to get you to be a customer. So it's the same thing they do with a $500 credit card. It's actually a gift card. So if you call it a credit card, you'll lose the argument. But if you speak the truth, that is actually a gift because you did not have to promise to pay it back, and there is no contractual agreement, not with a criminal. So what you did with a card, you purchased something. Let's say you need a microphone, and it's an expensive one. Let's say it's a $500 microphone. You go and you purchase that, and the store lets you walk out with it because they're paid by the bank. Now, how did the bank get the money? It's from their advertising budget because they know they're going to make on average $23.04 on anybody who has uh, an account with them with that card. So they're bringing in $23 million if they had a million card holders. And that's where they're making the money. So if they are going to make that money back in about 23 months, that's where the $500 comes from. And now they got you as a lifetime person paying $23.04 on average for a free checking account, because that's basically what you have. So when you got your statement in the mail, you were told by your parents and by society, by everybody, that that's a bill. It's not a bill. When you have a normal checking account, you get an accounting, and all you do, it tells you what you started with, the deposits, the checks you wrote, or correct debits, and the fees, and you have an ending balance. That's what a statement is. It's the same thing with your bank issued alleged credit card statement. It's just a statement. But you're a good person. You're doing the right thing. You've been told that's been lied to and been indoctrinated to send a check to the bank. When you did that, you actually loaned the bank money because the banks are all about loans. So you loaned the bank $500. You called a deposit. And now you can use that through your checks. Well, this checking account doesn't have any checks. You actually have a debit card. It says credit card on it. So in the beginning, it's a gift card. And once you send money to the bank, it becomes a debit card because every purchase you've made since then has been with your own money. So there is no loan. So if you are suffering from this, all you need to do is send a letter to the bank, ask them to close your free checking account associated with that card. And that is how you can not get out of debt. It's not a debt. You are a crime victim. I'm trying to wake you up and let you know that there is recourse for you not to be a victim anymore. But now that you know what the story is, now you can go back and get a credit card, so called, and don't have an annual fee and never pay them a penny of interest. And you know what you're doing is the ability to get an airline ticket or to rent a car. And so you really do have to have one of these credit cards in that sense, but you never want to pay them any interest. And you come in with your eyes wide open, knowing the game that it's your money. And if they so-called lower your credit limit, they've actually taken your money. They've confiscated your money. And that's the risk you take. But that's the risk I'm willing to take. So I have learned about the truth and speaking the truth and helping other people that are basically crime victims. So it gives me a lot of joy at every day that I can help somebody.
That was so it was technical, but it was again so honest. Thank you for that honesty. And yeah, I agree to a lot of things that you said in this. Also, for our listeners, you went from $85,000 in credit card debt to having it erased from your record. So, how did you navigate that process, and what surprised you the most about the system? Like, for example, many people they just pay the minimum balance each month. Okay, or they're either thinking that they're being responsible when really it's a trap that keeps them stuck for a long time. So, did you find that most of us misunderstand how credit card debt really works? Or is it a whole different story with different people out there?
Yes, as I said, law is language and language is law. So if you use the language of the criminal, you're never going to have the argument. And that's where you want to be able to understand what it's all about. And you don't need to believe me. There in the show notes, there'll be some links so you can look it up yourself. And you can take this podcast to a certified public accountant or anyone who's had one class of accounting, and they'll tell you I'm actually 100% correct. Maybe they never heard of this before, but that's where I've had the experience of being an accountant and never paying from a statement. You only pay from an invoice, and the bank never provided any goods or services to you, so they don't have an invoice. And on the other side, they didn't issue a loan to you because you have to fill out loan documents. And then the other thing too is by using a card, you agree to their terms and conditions. That again is undone because of fraud. So by writing a letter to the bank is the first foundation. You can also make complaints. So I'm having my people that come in contact with me, they file complaints with the state or the government, federal government, on the crimes the banks have committed. And then we send the letter to the bank showing them that we've complained to the authorities about their behavior of the fraudulent actions. And what the fraud is they're doing is they're charging you for a free checking account. That's the bottom line, is you're paying interest, you're paying late fees, overdraft fees, cash advance fees, annual fees, all on a free checking account. And you don't have to do that. So if you have a letter from your CPA saying that, first of all, the bank does not have an invoice, and if you do have an invoice and it's valid, we agree to pay it. There's not a problem. We're not trying to get out of debt. Number two is if there's a loan, you have to have a promise to pay it back. So if you don't promise to pay it back, it's actually a gift. So if someone gives you something, that's a gift. when you obtain something and you don't have any promise to pay it back, then that's still considered a gift because there's no contractual agreement. And so that's what you can do is also have an attorney write a letter that says fraud undoes all contracts. And what I like to do is I like to have a drafted up lawsuit so the bank knows how much money it's going to cost them. And it's going to be not advantageous to move anywhere forward. So I was able to help someone just recently. A podcaster who interviewed me was just sued, and he was about to be in a default judgment, which means by not responding, they get an automatic win. And I'm helping him draft up a motion to get more time, and that's all we need. And then we're going to contact the bank, and we expect them to withdraw the lawsuit and go away and remove it off their credit report. So in about 45 days, I think he'll be a very happy person. His credit score will go up when you remove this derogatory item off your credit report, and there will be no repercussions. The bank will not sue you because they know they will lose in court. And that's what we do. We have the truth on our side. So it's a great feeling I have to help people and to help them overcome what they have been lied to and indoctrinated. As long as you question things, it's a lot easier because your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open.
Mm, so eye-opening, and I really love how you explain language as law and law as language. And yeah, that was so great. And we we are, usually we're taught to believe that it is permanent and it's unshakable. But your story, it shows it isn't always so. And there are ways, and there are times when you need to really open up your eyes and look forward to things that are there, the loopholes. Yeah, your story is so inspiring. Also, beyond the legal side of things, what was the emotional and spiritual toll of carrying that much debt? And how did your faith it anchor you in the middle of that storm? For instance, when someone else might turn to denial or even unhealthy coping habits during this time. I do not
Oh,
want to say the word, but you really know what I'm trying to say. And so, what helped you hold on when everything it felt like that you were slipping away? And yeah, what was that?
oh yes, it's been a very spiritual journey too. And after this event, a friend of mine had a charity and it was called Lighthouse of Hope, and it was dormant, meaning it wasn't active. And I rebranded it to be credit repair. And many people came to our charity, and I would help them repair their credit, have a better credit score. But they would have sometimes some debt, or they would believe it's credit card debt. All I would do is write a letter, and that helped them. So the spiritual journey took me on to another adventure is that after about 13 years ago, the wife said, get out and take the dog with you. And so I became homeless on purpose. And I took a vow of poverty because I wanted to feel what it was like to be poor. And so 10 years I lived in the United States as without an income and without a house. And I wanted to feel what it was like to be hungry and have no place to stay that night, and a generosity of people. But I wouldn't take their charity. I would always have to do something for them. So it was always an exchange. So that's where I walked in faith with God. I left all of my possessions, all my wealth behind, and I walk with faith. I know God provides what I need and what I want. And that's where I start from. And I also have what I call a Visa card. Here I am talking about credit card debt. You might have heard of a Visa card, but this is a little bit different. This is a little bit on a Buddhist kind of a direction. It says right now whole view. So when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel disconnected to spirit, and the word spirit actually means to breathe. So take in a breath and then stop what you're doing. You've lost sight, you've become overwhelmed, things are not going right for you. So just take a moment of peace and look around, feel the earth, feel the trees, feel the leaves, feel what it is, smell the flowers, smell all the smells, taste things, and then hear everything going on, the birds chirping and everything like that. That's all the noises that are there. And then look, open your eyes up and look at color, look at shapes, look at texture, and then only then start to notice what is moving. So I want you to focus on the nouns, the person, place, or things first. and then look at what's action. So what's happening, what's moving around as a verb. So the Visa card stands for V is right now whole view, then right now whole intent. So think about what your intent is. My intent is to come onto your show, educate the world that there is a worldwide bank fraud going on. And if I receive any compensation by helping people, I'm here in the Philippines teaching farmers how to build dome houses with bamboo, vertical gardening, and I will be helping them open up free self-managed medical care clinics. So that's what I'm doing as my intent. So S as in Visa stands for right now whole speech. So my speech reflects my intent based on my view. And A stands for action. So I take the action of what I'm doing. I am here on your podcast, on your pod show, talking about my intent and sharing this information of the world that they are a victim of a crime and you don't have to be a crime victim anymore. You can get off of this terrible situation you're in, and it's very simple. So that's the spiritual journey I am on. And so breathe, bring spirit back into your life, and you'll be balanced and you'll feel right.
So powerful, and we're also glad, right, that how anything it leads to a spiritual journey, and yeah, it's so good. I'm glad that it happened to you, and yeah, that is powerful, that is hopeful, basically. So, okay, many listeners, they right now might feel trapped in their own cycles, in their own death cycles, in their vicious cycles of life, what to say. So, what is that first step that someone should take or someone can take to begin healing? Um, you can talk in both aspects, whether financially and spiritually. What are the first steps that you feel are most important for a person to take? And yeah, they might help them.
Oh, yeah. How I kind of see things is we have a holy contract, and you might have heard of holy water or the Holy Spirit. This is an idea that before I was born, I was with God and with all these loving souls, and I wanted to go on a certain adventure, and I explained what I wanted to experience. And I had loving souls who would come and make my life a living hell just to give me the most difficult situation that could ever happen to me from, let's say, infidelity to hurting me physically, hurting me emotionally, making my life terrible. And now I see them as that's part of my contract with them and with God to be experienced this. So when I was born, I forgot everything. All my memory was erased. So now every time I have a person like yourself that's crossed my path, I know that you and I somehow agreed that we would cross paths sometime in the future when I needed you most, and you're here to help me. So I want to share that with your listeners is take the responsibility that it's your choice. You chose this to be happening to you. All the suffering, you chose this. So now you are in control. Now that you in control, it's your responsibility. It's what you want to do with it. So now what's the lesson from this? How are you going to be a better person? What are you going to do to someone else to make their life better? So from all your life lessons you've had that I don't have, you can connect to people who have had that same kind of suffering. So think this as something beneficial, something to an advantage of what has happened in your life, and turn it around, do a 180-degree turnaround and say, that's a good thing that happened to me. How could that be good for you? Well, I'm alive and I learned from this, and now I've experienced that, and I can share that with people who are going through the same thing I have. And that's what attracts those people to you. So notice who are coming to you. Notice what kind of people are coming to you. They're looking for a healing, and you are a healer supposed to heal them back. So take your life experiences, lead by example. And that's a thing I can share with your audience of how they can turn their life around and see things from a whole different perspective.
That is so great. That was, yeah, it's so, again, it's so eye-opening, and that's encouraging, basically. And you're reminding us that, even mountains, they can move when our perspective shifts, when we take that step. And yeah, it's so great. This conversation with Tommy is a reminder that healing, it isn't just about money, it's about reclaiming freedom, faith, and dignity. Debt may feel like it defines you, but you're not your credit score, you're not your balance sheet. If debt has been weighing on your script or on your spirit, let today's talk remind you that freedom, it begins with one small step, whether that's seeking help, rethinking how you see money, or simply daring to believe that change is possible. I am Pragya Malvya, and this has been Divine Decode. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, remember that freedom, it is not just about numbers in your account, it's about the courage in your heart. Take notes from Tommy, take those insights. Do not experience your own experiences, but yeah, do it, but learn from others too. And I hope you stay strong, you stay hopeful, and keep walking toward your own financial healing, your spiritual healing, and your physical healing. This is Pragya Malvya signing off as your host today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.